Here's what doesn't make sense. Most airlines abandoned the Boeing 717 years ago. Boeing stopped caring about it. Even the used market dried up. Yet, Delta, the world's largest airline, went all in. Not just keeping their 717s, making them the backbone of their short-haul network. Why would the industry's most sophisticated operator stake so much on a jet everyone else rejected? This isn't nostalgia, it's not stubbornness. There's something Delta discovered that everyone else missed. A calculated gamble that's been paying off for over a decade. Think about it. Hawaiian Airlines is the only other major operator left. Everyone else, they've moved on to shinier, newer jets. For them, the 717 is aviation's equivalent of a flip phone. Outdated, unwanted, irrelevant. So, what secret did Delta uncover? Why does this forgotten jet still anchor their network? And how much longer can this contrarian strategy actually work? Today, we're uncovering Delta's unlikely obsession with the Boeing 717 and why this orphan jet became either the smartest fleet decision in modern aviation or a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. To understand the 717's strange existence, we need to trace its twisted family tree. It starts in the 1960s with the Douglas DC-9, a revolutionary short-haul workhorse. That design evolved into the McDonnell Douglas MD-80, then MD-90, and finally MD-95. Each generation refined the formula: T-tail configuration, rear-mounted engines, built for efficiency on short routes. This lineage represents the longest continuous jetliner family in history, over 60 years from the first DC-9 to the final 717. With the exception of the Boeing 737, no other aircraft design has matched that staying power. Then, things got weird. The MD-95 was McDonnell Douglas's baby, their vision for the next generation 100-seater. But in 1997, Boeing acquired McDonnell Douglas. Suddenly, Boeing owned a jet they never designed, competing against planes they actually wanted to sell. What would you do? Boeing slapped their name on it, called it a 717, and hoped for the best. They had bigger priorities: the 737 Next Generation program that would dominate narrow-body sales for decades. The market response? It was brutal. Only 156 Boeing 717s were ever built. That's not just low, it's the shortest production run of any Boeing-branded jetliner still flying today. Boeing essentially orphaned their own product, focusing resources on the 737NG, while the 717 limped towards cancellation. Here's the thing about seeing a Delta 717 at the gate: you're looking at a survivor, a jet born from corporate mergers and missed opportunities, aviation's ultimate outlier. While every other airline flies cookie-cutter A320s and 737s, the 717 stands alone, a reminder that sometimes the oddball becomes the hero. By 1999, when the 717 entered service, the airline industry had already moved on. Regional jets like the CRJ and Embraer were revolutionizing short routes, offering flexibility and economics the 717 couldn't match. Meanwhile, airlines wanting growth bought 737s and A320s, jets that could fly anything from 45-minute hops to 5-hour transcontinentals. The 717 stuck in no man's land. Too big to compete with nimble 50-seaters, too small to match the versatility of mainline narrowbodies. It was the aircraft equivalent of a specialized tool in a world demanding Swiss Army knives. Early operators, they tried to make it work. AirTran flew them for years, Midwest Airlines gave it a shot, Qantas used them down under, but one by one, they all reached the same conclusion. Why fly a niche jet when you could standardize on something more flexible? Even Boeing seemed embarrassed by the 717. Production limped along until 2006 when they killed the program after just 156 deliveries. All their energy went to the 737 Next Generation, a jet that could do everything the 717 could, but better. The operator list kept shrinking. Southwest Airlines absorbed AirTran and immediately dumped the 717s. Midwest vanished. Qantas moved on in 2024. Outside of Delta and Hawaiian, the 717 became aviation's orphan. Too modern to be classic, too old to be cutting edge. Have you noticed the pattern? The 717 failed because it solved the problem most airlines do not have: It was perfectly sized for routes that were disappearing, optimized for a market that no longer existed. American Airlines chose Embraer E-jets for their regional capacity. United Airlines bet on regional jets, including the CRJs. Both airlines could point to better trip economics and fleet commonality. For the airline industry, the verdict was unanimous: let it die. By 2012, Delta faced an impossible puzzle. Their aging fleet, DC-9s, MD-88s, MD-90s, was literally falling apart. But the market for a 100-seat replacement at the time? Dead. Regional jets were too small, new A320s and 737s were overkill for hour-long flights. The perfect replacement simply didn't exist. Then, Southwest Airlines bought AirTran. Suddenly, 88 Boeing 717s were homeless. Southwest's religion is simple: all 737, all the time. They wanted these odd ducks gone, yesterday. While other airlines yawned, Delta saw an opportunity. They negotiated what industry insiders call one of the shrewdest deals in modern aviation: long-term leases, rumored at pennies on the dollar. Fresh-ish jets for a fraction of new prices. Everyone thought they'd lost their minds. Why buy someone else's rejects when you could order factory-fresh E-jets? Here's what outsiders missed. The 717 shared DNA with Delta's retiring MD-88s and MD-90s. Same type rating, similar systems, overlapping parts. Delta could swap old for new without retraining thousands of pilots or rebuilding maintenance programs. One seamless transition instead of an expensive overhaul. While competitors faced millions in simulator costs transitioning to E-jets, Delta's pilots needed minimal differences training. Think about the audacity. While competitors ordered shiny new jets with 20-year payment plans or expensive long-term leases, Delta grabbed proven workhorses at bargain prices. They solved their capacity crisis, modernized their fleet, and did it with aircraft the industry had already written off. It wasn't sexy, it wasn't headline-grabbing, but it was brilliant. Delta's contrarian move turned the 717 from problem child to problem solver, and they were about to prove Boeing wrong, using Boeing's own orphan jet. So, why did Delta succeed where everyone else failed? 3 words: perfect mission fit. The 717's 110 seats hit the sweet spot for Delta's bread-and-butter routes. Atlanta to Charlotte, Detroit to Pittsburgh, LaGuardia to anywhere. High-frequency shuttles packed with travelers, including premium-paying business passengers. Too many seats and you're flying half empty. Too few and you're leaving money on the table. The 717's capacity was precisely calibrated for Delta's hub-and-spoke network, but the real genius was operational. Remember those retiring MD-88s? Their pilots could jump into a 717 with minimal training. Same type rating, familiar cockpit, muscle memory intact. No $1 million simulator sessions, just a quick differences course and back to flying. Delta Tech Ops, their in-house maintenance army, sealed the deal. Other airlines fretted about orphaned engines and scarce parts. Delta? They already had the infrastructure, expertise, and inventory from decades of MD-80 operations. This is where Delta's vertical integration became a weapon. While competitors relied on third-party maintenance, Delta's Tech Ops division, they'd been supporting MD variants since the 1970s. They knew every system, every quirk, every parts supplier. Listen to the people who actually fly and fix these jets. A Delta captain told me, going from the MD-88 to the 717 was like trading your beat-up pickup for the same truck with leather seats and better gas mileage. A Tech Ops mechanic. Everyone said parts would be impossible. We just smiled. We've been sourcing MD parts since the Reagan administration. A network planner. Show me another jet that turns a profit on a 300-mile flight with 90 passengers. I'll wait. The cabin design offered unexpected advantages. That distinctive 2 to 3 seating meant fewer middle seats. Passengers loved it. The rear-mounted engines kept the forward cabin quieter than traditional configurations. Though, those sitting in back dealt with more engine noise, small trade-offs that frequent flyers understood. Trip costs told the story. While an Embraer E175 might burn less fuel per hour, the 717's higher capacity often delivered better seat-mile economics on dense routes. Delta squeezed value from every flight. This is why Delta dominates, not just because they buy the newest toys, but because they squeeze maximum value from every asset. The 717, it wasn't built to be special. Delta made it special by understanding exactly what it could do and doing it better than anyone else. If the 717 works so well for Delta, why isn't everyone copying their playbook? Simple, it only works if you're Delta. Hawaiian Airlines gets it. They fly their 717s between islands where stage lengths are measured in minutes, not hours. 20-minute hops between Honolulu and Maui, quick turns, high frequency, captive market. For them, the 717 is perfect. Everywhere else, it's a square peg in round holes. Most airlines need flexibility, jets that can fly short hops today and medium hauls tomorrow. The 717 can't. It's optimized for one thing: shorter routes with decent passenger loads. That's a shrinking market in an industry obsessed with growth. Then there's the support nightmare. With production dead since 2006, parts are scarce. Boeing moved on. No updates, no improvements, no investment. Those unique BR715 engines? Good luck finding spares without Delta's massive inventory. The orphan fleet risk is real. Want to sell your 717s later? To whom? The used market is essentially Delta and Hawaiian. That's it. Try explaining that to your board when they ask about fleet flexibility and residual values. American and United made different bets. American chose E-jets for regional feed, newer technology, manufacturer support, better resale prospects. United standardized on ERJs and CRJs, prioritizing commonality over specialized efficiency. Both strategies made sense for their networks. The reality nowadays, Delta dominates its hubs, while Hawaiian connects the islands. Everywhere else, shiny A220s or ERJs taking over, offering better economics and manufacturer support. The harsh truth? The 717 is a relationship, not a one-night stand. It demands commitment, infrastructure, and very specific network needs. Delta had all three. Everyone else, they swiped left and never looked back. Boeing must have watched with mixed emotions as Delta proved the 717's viability, using a jet Boeing had essentially abandoned for the 737NG program. Delta outsmarted Boeing with Boeing's own product. Outside its tiny niche, the 717 has nowhere to go. No future, no hope, just Delta's unique ability to turn an orphan into an asset. The clock? It's ticking. Delta announced the 717's retirement by 2025, but that timeline is already slipping. Airbus A220 delivery delays means these jets might fly for a few additional years. What was supposed to be a clean transition has become a messy extension of aviation's most unlikely success story. It's not just another fleet update, it's the end of American aviation royalty. When the last 717 eventually touches down for its final Delta flight, whether in 2025 or later, we lose our last link to the DC-9 dynasty. 6 decades of continuous service by the same basic design. Gone. No more T-tails in scheduled passenger service, no more distinctive rear engine howl on approach. The replacement? Delta has 67 Airbus A220-300s on order, the spiritual successor to the 717's mission. Modern, efficient, manufacturer-supported. Everything the 717 couldn't be in its twilight years, but delivery delays mean the 717's reprieve continues. You can already see them disappearing. Each month, more 717s make their final journey to the desert. Delta livery fading under southwestern sun, replaced by efficient, quiet, yet less romantic A220s and A321neos. Is that progress? Absolutely. These new jets burn less fuel, fly further, and offer a better passenger experience. They're better in every measurable way, except one. They have no soul, no history, no connection to the golden age where jets wore their engine on their tails and every flight felt like an event. Hawaiian faces the same reality. Their 717s, they're approaching retirement too. The Airbus A220 is competing versus the Embraer E2 jets in the replacement race. Sensible, efficient, modern. The same adjectives that could make aviation boring. The orphan fleet bet paid off for Delta, but only because of timing. They got the jets cheap, squeezed a decade of value, and now they're moving on. Was it genius or just good luck? Maybe both. Think about this. Kids growing up today will never experience that distinctive DC-9 engine note, never see that unique profile taxiing past the terminal, never understand why some of us stop and stare whenever a 717 appears. We're not just retiring airplanes, we're closing the book on an entire philosophy of aircraft design, the last echo of an era when engineers solved problems differently, when form followed function in ways that created accidental beauty. The countdown has begun. Each flight, it could be your last chance to ride history. Here's what most passengers never realize. Every Delta 717 flight is a time machine. You're sitting in the last rear-engine jet in American scheduled service, the final evolution of a design philosophy that started when Kennedy was president. That's not just trivia, it's living history at over 30,000 feet. Pilots who've flown the whole MD family get emotional about it. It's the DC-9 perfected, one captain told me, his voice catching slightly. All the DNA that made it great, with the rough edges smoothed out. Flight attendants love the 2-3 seating. No middle seat on the left side means happier passengers. The forward cabin stays quiet. Engines way back there can't disturb first class. Little things that matter on the 100th flight of the month. But the 717 faces real challenges. Recent incidents, nose gear failures, fuel leaks, wing crack inspections reminds us these are 20-plus-year-old jets. Delta's tech ops keeps them flying safely. But age is undefeated in aviation. The deeper truth, the 717 represents something we've lost in aviation, the willingness to be different, to solve specific problems with specific solutions instead of one-size-fits-all flying. Delta didn't keep the 717 for nostalgia. This was a cold, calculated strategy. They saw value where others saw liability, turned orphan jets into profit centers, proved that sometimes the best solution isn't the newest, it's the one that fits. What fascinates me most? The 717 succeeded by failing. Its limited production run kept prices low. Its narrow mission focus made it perfect for Delta's network. Its shared DNA with older jets made the transition seamless. Every weakness became a strength if you were smart enough to see it. The question now, will Delta ever pull a similar contrarian move again? The A220 orders suggest they've moved towards conventional thinking, but then again, everyone said the 717 bet was crazy too. For aviation enthusiasts, every 717 sighting is bittersweet. We're watching history fly by, knowing each glimpse could be the last. These jets carry more than passengers. They carry the dreams of Douglas engineers, the ambitions of McDonnell Douglas, and the early days of the Boeing and McDonnell Douglas merger. Most of all, they carry proof that in aviation, different can be beautiful. We started with a puzzle. Why does Delta love an airplane everyone else abandoned? Now you know, it wasn't love, it was strategy. The 717 solved specific problems at specific times for specific routes. Delta saw opportunity where others saw obsolescence. They turned aviation's orphan into their secret weapon. But that chapter is closing. When Delta retires its last 717, whether in 2025 or thereafter, we lose more than airplanes. We lose our flying connection to the DC-9 legacy, 60 years of T-tailed rear-engine reliability, the end of an era that helped build modern aviation. The bigger question, what's Delta's next contrarian bet? As the A220s arrive and the 717s fade, will they ever again buck industry consensus for hidden value? Or has the airline industry become too standardized for another orphan fleet success story? The 717 was never supposed to succeed. Too few built, wrong timing, awkward size. Yet it found its niche, proved its worth, and outlasted jets that were supposed to replace it. When these planes disappear, so does a piece of aviation's soul. So, here's my question. Have you flown on a Delta 717? Did you realize you were riding the last of its kind? Did you notice the wider seats, the quieter cabin, the different engine note? Share your 717 story below. Help us preserve these memories before they're gone forever.